Without evidence, it's without meaning. There's no truth to anything this person's saying unless they can demonstrate that there is. The Bible is not evidence of anything except the contradictions and the disagreements between the authors who wrote it. There's a lot of contradiction. There's a lot of savagery. Now, for most atheists, we're former Christians. I mean, we have Dan Barker, we have Matt Dillahunty. Most atheists, like Bart Ehrman, they were seminary students. They know vastly more about the scriptures and the history of the Bible than you or your friends do. And they came to this realization that it's all bullshit, that it was all made up. And when they figured out how it was made up and when, and in the context of what beliefs these people had and how they borrowed from neighboring religions at the time. In our discussion yesterday, we talked about the Bhagavad Gita coming about in 600 BC. The Bhagavad Gita is one chapter of the Mahabharata, which is the largest epic poem ever written, and it's also part of the world's oldest religion. If the Bhagavad Gita predates your Bible, the Mahabharata definitely does, because it's vastly older. But it is not an evidence of Hinduism. At the same time as Bhagavad Gita came into being, you also had Zoroastrianism and Buddhism and the Tao Te Ching, all proposing different creation events, curiously, all around 600 BC. So it's very interesting that the formation of Judaism also occurred at about the same time.
So, what would you do if Sam Harris or Richard Dawkins became a Christian?
I'd be very confused. Because they'd have to have a reason. It doesn't matter that somebody decides they're going to believe something when they give irrational reasons, which is all the reasons anyone has ever given for why they believe in a God is always completely irrational. For example, when I had my own conversion to reborn Christian, I turned to a dear friend of mine who was part of all this, who is now an ordained Southern Baptist minister in a fundamentalist creationist, young earth creationism Christian school. And I asked him, how do I know that this sensation, this elation that I'm feeling is genuine and not perhaps some deception either of my own mind or a demonic possession or a deceptive spirit or something? Because I believed in that shit at the time. And my friend grabbed me by both shoulders, and this is the greatest demonstration of why religion is dishonest. He grabbed me by both shoulders and he shook me with a big smile and he says, just keep telling yourself it's Jesus until you believe it. That is wholly dishonest. Faith is, on every level, the most dishonest position it is possible to have. You couldn't name a position more dishonest than faith. It is an assumption that is asserted without justification. It is unwarranted. And it is assumed without reason and defended against all reason. It is the definition of unreasonable.
So could you say with 100% confidence that there definitely is no God?
Doesn't need to be. There could be a God, but it's not the Bible God, because I can say with 100% confidence the Bible is wrong. Whether God exists or not, evolution is still a fact, and the Bible is still wrong.
So, if there was a God, what evidence would you need to believe that there was?
That's the problem. When you're talking about supernatural things, by definition, you can't have evidence. Now, you should, because anytime a supernatural entity reaches into the prime material plane, it should pull its arm out dripping with physics. It should leave evidence, but it doesn't, because supernatural is defined as some sort of dream state where physics and reality don't match, and so you can't have evidence of it. Like we were talking about yesterday, if Krishna were to appear before you, you would automatically assume that it is either a demon. If Krishna appeared before both of us, you would assume that it was a demon for some stupid reason that doesn't make any sense, lying to you to convince you there's a Krishna. I also wouldn't accept Krishna because I know the propensity for people to be deceived, especially when they have faith, because faith is inherently deceptive. It's wholly deceptive. Faith is a lie. The only way to have an honest perspective on anything is to renounce and denounce faith. Give up faith. Faith is deceptive entirely.
Would you say that if we both had the Krishna experience and we're both looking for objective truth? Like, what? Would you say if we both had the Krishna experience right now and both of us would reject it, could you say that the reason why I would reject it is because I believe in objective truth and I want to know?
But you don't you don't believe in objective truth. You say that you do. You don't. You believe in a truth that is established by a subjective being, okay, which you try to externalize. But even if it was external, it would still be subjective, not objective. Objective means we all agree on it, and clearly we don't. There are different religious standards, even within Christianity, much less with the other religions. I would say that on the whole, rational atheism provides a better morality because at least none of us ever promoted slavery, child molestation, genocide, the ransacking and slaughtering of whole neighborhoods or towns, and certainly would never be so base, cruel, or barbaric or stupid as to judge somebody not by the merit of their character or by the value of their work, but on something as trivial as what they believe.
So there was no atheist that ever promoted slavery or genocide?
I don't know of any. History of atheists is very slim. But here in the rationalism movement, there are none. We are the ones that are promoting, or excuse me, that are against everything that religion promotes. Misogyny, slavery, racism, judgments against homosexuals, the annihilation of rights for various people, for Christian rights to treat other people differently. It is bigotry, and we are against that. Your God promotes evil entirely throughout and judges solely on whether you're gullible. That is unjust. If your God exists, he is unworthy of respect, much less worship. But if your God exists does not change the fact the Bible is still wrong, and we can prove it, and evolution is still the truest, best explanation there is for the origin of our species, and we can prove that too.
Would you say that by definition, if the Christian God exists, that the Christian Bible would be right?
What?
Wouldn't you say that, just by definition, hypothetically, if the Christian God exists, then wouldn't that automatically say that the Christian Bible is correct,
no,
considering that he was the inspiration behind it?
No. Because if Jesus really were this divinely inspired prophet of God, by whatever means you want to call it, son of God or a prophet of God, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the fact that the Bible was written by people. There are contradictions throughout. The numbers for the same event don't match in this chapter that match in this chapter. How this guy died in this chapter is completely different than how he died in that chapter. Everything is contradictory. What's permitted here is forbidden here. It's ridiculous. It doesn't match. And none of it makes any sense. It's immoral. Your belief system is...
How do you decide right from wrong?
You see, a society of social animals. We have come to evolve realizing that we, or not even realizing this in most cases, if we behave in a way that nurtures society, that befriends our family, friends, and fellows, and performs altruistic deeds and makes sacrifices of ourselves, that benefits the community. Since evolution is a matter of population genetics and population mechanics, this perpetuates an altruistic, humanistic society. Whereas, in your belief system, you kill the infidel. It's unforgiving. It's wholly evil.
In Saudi Arabia, they propagate Islam in the majority Islamic country, and they believe that Sharia law is beneficial to society. What would you say to them?
I would say that that stands as proof against your objective morality.
So basically morality is not based upon their society, but your society?
No, it's the concomitant, it's all society. If you get rid of faith, if you get rid of religion, which is both dishonest and bigoted and hate. What do you think all the hate groups, virtually all of them, are attached to a religious organization? Why is that? Religion is hateful.
There's more religious people than there are atheistic people.
That could be. But the most adamantly religious are the ones that are also attached to the hate groups. It's pathetic and sad, and it needs to be addressed. Not believing impossible nonsense for no good reason is no justification for damnation. If we all have Christian friends and family whom we love and who see past the differences of our trivial beliefs to love us, why can your God not be that moral? or that just.
Yeah. I think we both agree that Islam is wrong and it's not good for society. Apparently the birth rate is coming to a point where it quite possibly could be the most dominant religion on the earth, and basically it's very influential in countries like England and starting to be in America, Australia and Europe. If they would happen to take over society and make all the rules, by definition should we go with their society in determining right or wrong, or would you still say, even though you are the minority group, you are right and they are wrong?
It's all of society, regardless whether they hold religious beliefs or not.
But what if all of society was Islamic?
Then we would have a serious problem, because it's not going to last long.
Yeah, by definition, they would be right, because if we go by all of society, and we choose that.
Again, if you're being self-defeating, if you're acting in a way that is detrimental to society, regardless whether you have religious beliefs or not, there is nobody that says this society governs right or wrong. It's you as an individual. Either work in a way that is supportive of your society, your social group, your friends and fellows, or you work in a way that is aberrant to that. Religion has always been aberrant to that. You are the ones that are out killing the infidels and taking their children as slaves.
So right and wrong is based upon the individual then?
Why does he try to twist everything I say?
No, I'm just asking. I just want to know.
Right or wrong, obviously, according to what I just said, is the exact opposite of what you just tried to twist it into.
Yeah, so right and wrong is based upon society, not the individual. Yes or no?
The entire society, not Islamic society, not subsets of society, the entirety of it. So this is why the rationalism movement isn't just occurring in Christian communities. It's occurring in Islamic communities too. People are waking up. They are learning the atrocities that their grandparents have taught to them are wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you that Islam is wrong. But just for argument's sake, hypothetically, what if Islam squashed Christianity, squashed atheism, squashed Buddhism, squashed all other opposing views? Would then they would be the dominant society, the only society, and therefore by definition they would be correct in what they do. Since
you would end
our values are based upon society as a whole.
Again, you would have a culture that on the surface has laws permitting these atrocities, but you would have the populace saying, no, this is wrong.
What if the populace said, no, this is right?
Because then it would be self-defeating. Because if you're not working in a way that is conductive to society, then you're working in a way that is destructive to society. If everybody is working in a way that is destructive to society, do the math.
Yeah, but you would agree that they don't see it that way. I'm not defending them, but let's just say...
objectifying? Why are you focusing only on their belief and not on yours, which is in the same category?
Well, it's either way. I mean, let's just say everyone was a Christian. Then society would say that Christian values are the right way.
And unfortunately, you'd have the same situation, because Christianity all does the same thing. You're judging people over your own belief system and enforcing a conformity where everybody has to have the same political view, not just religious view. You have to align in all manners. You have to be subservient to the whole ideology. Anything you want to add in there. I'm from Texas. I know all about that. We have carbon copies, the whole neighborhood. You got to have a bunch of guns. The government's they're open to conspiracy theories and every idiot thing that Rick Perry wants to tell them. They're gullible sheep, and it's sad. But there are people that are waking up. The more oppressive religion gets, and this is what happens, the more power religion gets, the more it is opposed.
So there were no oppressive atheists?
Are there no oppressive atheists? Atheists are a herd of cats. We don't share the same ideologies. We're not like religious groups.
What about
we have different
in Russia, say about 40 years ago?
What about them?
Joseph Stalin did a lot of atrocities. Would you agree with that?
Joseph Stalin did say a lot of stuff. He started as a Christian, right, and then he adopted this politics, which he used to enforce evil. How is that in any way relevant to the rationalism movement? Why don't you talk about Carl Sagan or Isaac Asimov? Remember what I told you yesterday. When you're talking about evolution and creationism and doing this comparison, I told you that you cannot name one evolutionary scientist in history who lied to falsify evidence to promote evolution over creationism. That's a challenge. Conversely, this is the worst part, you cannot find any creationist who did not lie while promoting creationism over evolution. Your position is entirely wrong. The thing that amazes me most about demonstrations like what you're doing now, and have always done, is how anybody can be so conclusively proven to be absolutely wrong about absolutely everything, 100% of the time, for such a long time, and still say yours is the absolute truth.
So you're 100% sure the Christian God is
Yes, because if the Christian God is based on the Bible, and we're 100% sure the Bible is wrong, then we're 100% sure you're wrong about God. Even if God exists, and even if it's the Christian God, you're still wrong about him.
But that would make us both wrong, wouldn't it?
Yes, to a degree we would both be wrong. You would still be more wrong than me, but we would both be wrong.
I at least acknowledge that there is a God, so that would be fundamental.
But you don't have knowledge. Knowledge is demonstrable. So what if you can't show it, then you don't know it. When I say that I believe something, it means that I can't prove it. If I say that I know something, it means I can prove it.
So do you believe you're an atheist, or you know to be atheist?
I know that I do not have any conviction that any God exists. By definition, since my worldview does not include a deity and does not necessitate one, I am by definition an atheist.
So could there be any proof? Like, what proof would you need in order to be a atheist?
Since you have defined God by his...
Any God.
Since you defined gods by performance of miracles, and a miracle is defined as an act of magic that defies the laws of physics, it is therefore physically impossible. So you're asking me what I would accept to prove that the impossible is possible, if it's impossible by definition.
So there's no possible way in order for you to be atheist?
I don't know of one. I'd like to be open to the possibility, but what I'm faced with forever is people that have no evidence, no accountability, no appreciable honesty on any level, nothing that they can show to be right, and they're all professing to know what they know no one even can know, which is a lie.
What if hypothetically in 100 years' time the consensus was that the scientific community believed there was a God?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Sorry, what if in 100 years' time the consensus was that the scientific community believed there was a God?
Would they have a reason?
I would assume so.
Well, it would have depended on what the reason is, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But do you think that could be possible, that in 100 years' time that the majority of scientists believe that there is a God?
So far in history, since we've shown that every time anyone has asserted supernatural explanations for anything, and once we found out the real answer, not only did it prove that the supernatural assumption was wrong, but it also revealed whole new fields of study that were previously unimagined, and new volumes of information. Then religion is not only wrong and always wrong, both in theory and practice, but it has only ever been an impediment to progress, both scientifically and socially and politically and in every other way. There's just nothing more wrong than religion.
So are you open to the fact that there could be proof, like down the track? Are you open to the fact that, let's just say for argument's sake, Sam Harris came to you and said, look, I've found some proof and I've decided that there definitely is a God, like the Anthony Flew experience, right? Let's just say everybody agreed with him. He showed it. Are you open to...
It doesn't matter how many people agree with it.
I agree with you, but the majority means nothing. It's a logical fallacy. But basically, are you open to there being any proof? Let's just say there was hard evidence. Would you change your mind?
If there could be hard evidence, I would be open to that. Yes. Do you have any?
No, I'm just saying, are you open to the possibility that there could be evidence?
I will say that I am open to the possibility that somebody might concoct some kind of evidence that there could be a God. Having that the Bible has already been disproved, you cannot resurrect it. So that can't ever change.
So you deny the... do you believe that Jesus actually existed in history?
No. I believe that the story was based on a cult leader that may or may not have actually existed, but probably would have been unrecognizable in court of the embellishments of the story since then. Worse, if he did exist, it would be wholly unjust, because we have something that created a situation which forced our sin and then was unable to forgive us unless we did something unforgivable first, which doesn't make any sense, because your belief system makes no sense on any level.
Would you agree that you're not a Christian theologian?
I would definitely agree that I am not a Christian theologian, but if I were, I'd be making a lot more money. And I could do it believing what I believe right now.
Could you say that maybe
The reason that I am not a Christian theologian is because, unlike most Christian theologians, I care too much about what is really true.
Oh, that's fine. The reason why I asked it is because I found that most atheists misrepresent what Christians believe about original sin and the atonement. I just wanted to know, have you seriously looked into what we actually believe about that?
Yes.
And so you think that God forced sin into the world?
According to your scriptures, yes.
Do you have a scripture verse for that?
A single one? No, it's a long book. It's full of them. And there's a bunch of concordant scenes leading up to this, so there's not one line that tells the whole story of that.
Yeah, because the reason why I ask that is because as far as I'm aware, and I don't personally believe this, that no Christianity believes that God forced sin into the world.
I know. The story says that, but they don't read what's actually there. They read between the lines and come up with stuff it doesn't say. The Bible also does not say that Satan was the snake in the garden. That's an assumption. It's a biblical legend.
What about in
Revelations 9, it says Satan was that old serpent, which is a common insult at the time. Jesus also referred to the Pharisees as venomous snakes. Does that mean that each of the Pharisees was the serpent in the garden? No, there's no implication. There's no relation. It does not say that. You assume it to mean that, and you can't account for the fact that in all the medieval artwork, we have the serpent in the temptation of Eve being depicted as a woman.
Satan's a girl.
What's that?
You believe Satan's a girl?
No, I don't believe in Satan.
I know,
but Michelangelo did believe that Satan was a girl. Yes, he did. Yeah. Apparently, there was this belief in Lilith, Adam's first wife, according to Talmudic legend, and that Lilith was created equal to Adam, but she didn't want to be subservient to him. And so apparently she knew God's real name, and that gave her the ability to fly, and she escaped Eden. So God had to create a second wife, and this is what he made out of Adam's rib, or I don't remember how the comparison. Two different creation stories. One of them is just flesh without skin, and Adam goes, ah! So they had to do it twice. But anyway, yeah, that's the original story, and apparently early Christians must have believed this because we have a lot of artwork depicting the serpent with breasts.
Have you looked at the early Christian writings?
Have I looked at early? Yes, I have.
And what about Irenaeus? Irenaeus didn't certainly believe what you just said. Irenaeus was an early church father. He certainly didn't believe what you just said.
He believed what?
Irenaeus was an early, or Polycarp was an early church father. Okay, so, oh yeah, that's right. One last question. So, what's your hope for atheism in the future?
I hope that we negate our own necessity. I would like it to be that we do not have to identify as the minority of people who do not believe impossible nonsense for no good reason. We would like everyone to have to raise their eyebrows at you when you tell us that you believe in talking snakes and donkeys.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Aron Ra.